Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. My name is Dioria and I'm here again with another Champions Ascension video. There have been many new developments in the Discord and game leaks and I hope you're keeping up. I've analyzed and speculated some stuff from the recent Medium article and I'm excited to share it with you today. Make sure you comment any questions or ideas that you may have. Let's get started. So first, let's start with released champion tiers. The first tier is a grunt. Now the grunts are said to have no essence. To me, this means that they have no parts, which mean no possible advantages. It is safe to assume that grunts are probably beginner champions given for free to free-to-play players, or people just wanting to test out the game. It is also mentioned in the medium that they are forced to fight. Could this mean that AI would play as grunts? Or could this hint at a possible future PvE game mode where you take on as many grunts as possible? Who knows? To be honest, the grunts are pretty bare bone and there's nothing too special about them. Next are the challengers. So the challengers do have essence, and I have a speculation about why this is the case. So the genesis of challengers could be from three sources: Prime Eternal breeding, Champions Ascension selling them in an in-game shop, or they could be ascended from grunts. To add, Champions Ascension could also be a pay-to-play. So like for $10, you could play the full game and are given a challenger. So this implies many things. Challengers can take on from their apprentice's essence, or be a mystery from the shop, or be ascended and given an essence. I'm more confident in the first two, and I'm unsure of the grunts ascending, since they're grunts. But who am I to say that? Challengers cannot equip armor and are not allowed to breed. In the Medium article, they reference challengers as young champions and unable to don armor due to Imperial decree. This is a nice hint that challengers are made from breeding and can be cultivated to where you can eventually equip armor. After challengers are the almighty gladiators. To be honest, this is the most interesting tier of champions. This is the tier where crafting can get serious, so gladiators are able to equip armor, meaning it adds a whole new layer to character stats and gameplay. It is also mentioned that the Ministry of Bone looks for gladiators to turn into materials. So a gladiator that dies in the arena will forever disappear and could turn into another Champions Cup. Gladiators are not explicitly stated to be unable to breed, so I expect them to only produce grunts or something. One of the most exciting parts about gladiators are the alchemical versus real gladiators. It is mentioned in the lore that alchemists can produce champions from maestros, aka the players, so this leaves us with some possibilities. Alchemical gladiators are gladiators that are produced from only Prime Eternal breeding. I say only Prime Eternals because Prime Eternals are the only top tier breeders in this game, and since this is the highest mortal tier, I expect only Prime Eternals have this capability. Real gladiators, however, are made from naturally progressing and ascending your champion. This means there will definitely be a secondary market for gladiators since they can be reproduced. After this are Eternals. Eternals are better gladiators but worse Prime Eternals, a nice middle ground. So it is mentioned that Eternals can do nice things for their maestros. I assume this really means that Eternals have high breeding capabilities. I think they would only be able to produce grunts and challengers though. It is mentioned that Eternals are immortal, so they can't die. So how are they going to drop their loot like gladiators? Well, this means that Eternals could drop their armor once they fall in combat, or they do actually drop materials but aren't like forever gone. I'm still unsure of this mechanic, albeit it's safe to assume that Eternals are soft locked, meaning they are the highest Ascension tier but cannot be Prime Eternals. Now we got the big boys, the Prime Eternals. So we know that Prime Eternals have essences and divine parts. You can reference my last video if you still need some clarification on this. They can obviously wear top tier equips and such. The most important aspect of this is that they are, chef's kiss, top tier breeders, meaning they have the highest capability of breeding. I suspect they would be able to produce grunts, challengers, and gladiators. I also want to say that they are the originators of champions with essences besides the champions being sold by Champions Ascension themselves. These are in the same predicament as Eternals as to how they will be lootable when they are defeated. Prime Eternals are now only available on the secondary market on OpenSea. To continue, Prime Eternals are able to go to the moon. We're all gonna make it, baby. What can we expect from the moon? Well, not much has been said, but I guess it's a place for limited time events or occasions for Prime Eternals only. I'd also like to say that the moon is the only source of specific materials, whether that be crafting or ascension. I'd also like to include diamond tokens. Only Prime Eternals can produce diamond tokens, and you can use diamond tokens to make limited cosmetics. This could imply that there are regular cosmetic skins for your equipment as well, but diamond token ones are the coolest. Now that we're done with champion tiers, I want to further discuss some expected game mechanics. So there is the Ascension Temple, and with these tiers, it is safe to assume Ascension is a thing in the game. Ascension will likely be used to promote your champion to the next tier. Now this is probably going to be stupid expensive with low probability once you hit like Gladiator or Eternal tiers. Champions Ascension did mention they wanted a nice place for token sinks, and this would be a perfect place. It also prevents overpopulation of high tier champions, keeping them special and in demand. The Ministry of Bone can be a place used to create materials from corpses. This is confirmed at Gladiators and above. This goes hand in hand with forging to make new equipments for your champions from player-owned forges. I would also assume that ascending requires having materials of the champion's essence. So you would have to be a champion with similar essence and send them to the Ministry of Bone to make yours stronger. So let's discuss gameplay. I want to assume that not everything will take place in the arena, since it is confirmed that grunts, challengers, and gladiators can go night-night forever. It would be super odd if the game forces you to play a game mode where you just die every time you lose, meaning you lost all of your progress if you're a newer player. So I speculate that the training quarters would be a place where champions can cultivate without risking their life. Remember grunts? These are probably where champions can be on grunt AI to get stronger. There's probably an energy bar associated with this to prevent infinite progression. I also want to mention how tiers and parts relate. So we know that there are varying part rarities, but what I want to speculate is if different tiers have different numbers of parts. So I have an example here. If you have essence, you have parts, and depending on the family, you have a pool of parts available to you. So challengers have 3 parts, gladiators 4, and eternals and prime eternals have 5. I also want to reiterate that trait parts of the champion could act as a passive stat buff, while equipment could act as an active stat buff. A good example is runes versus items in League of Legends. Runes are chosen before the game starts, but give stats to the character. They're immutable in-game. Equipment is really where the character gets strong though and progresses throughout the game, and these are rather situational. So equipment is very important, but little buffs from the properties definitely help. I want to conclude this video with a discussion about where do you find value. So there is currently only Prime Eternals, and there is Divinity and Purity. Remember, all Prime Eternals are Prime, Divine, or Pure or not. They are the strongest in the game. Please don't hate your Prime Eternal. Continuing, I see value of Divinity and Purity in different places. Divinity has a lot of value in combat, but Purity has value in breeding. Simply put, Divine parts are the highest part tier, hence should give the best stat buffs. But Divine parts cannot be passed on during breeding, and this is where they lose a lot of value. Divine part rarity is also fixated now, since Divine parts cannot be moved or created. Purity is extremely valuable in breeding, since they could act as a method of guaranteeing essence to their offspring. However, in the arena, this creates a very rock, paper, scissors like gameplay. If you are a 5 out of 5 pure arcane, for example, you would get rocked on by a death, since the buffs they have on you are overwhelming. To be honest, it's probably best to mix and match essences for gameplay, but being pure in breeding is key. It is also worth mentioning overall that while 5 out of 5 purity eternals can be made, divine parts can never be made again. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Champions Ascension is still early and there is much to be uncovered. A big thank you to Champions Ascension and the astounding community. Follow Champions Ascension and me on Twitter, the ads are on the screen. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you have anything to say. Enjoy your day and peace. Keep vibing.